process was this for you being a first-time head coach? How difficult was it to cut the roster down to 53?
I think that having to talk to people that have given you so much, that's a tough thing. When you get close to people, sometimes saying goodbye can be a challenging part of the job. But I felt like it was also a great opportunity to learn about what we've been doing here, and the feedback I was able to get from all these players. I think I was able to learn a lot about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think that it gives me a lot of confidence moving forward in the way that we've organized this camp and the way we've treated these guys and kind of got this thing off the ground. So there were some tough conversations, but I think that they were easier because of how close we've gotten man to man. And I think that that's the way we handled it, with a lot of honesty and care. And the guys that we had to have some tough conversations with, it was just thanking them and being appreciative for them, and then giving them something in their game specifically to take away. And I thought that was really important. And then you also know that like these things have a way of coming back around too. The NFL is such a small circle, and just during camp we've had guys come back. So just always staying on the high side, and I enjoyed today, even though it was a tough day.
Well, one of the surprises, obviously for us, for you guys, there are no surprises, but Forrest Merrill making it. What did you guys like about him, and how do you feel like he progressed with him?
Felt like this guy just really kept getting better, improved his game quite a bit, and felt like his production during camp was something that stood out to us. Every time he got an opportunity, there was production. There wasn't just a guy who was doing the right thing. This guy was making plays too. So just felt like, he was kind of our style of guy. He's still got a long way to go, but felt like, there was a player there that we wanted to work with. Yeah, it was a really tough conversation with Badge, because we felt like it was a really even competition. And as I've told you guys, I felt like over the last month we've learned a lot about both guys. But I think ultimately what convinced me and Tom and our coaching staff about Tristan was just, this guy's got real talent. This guy's got real leg strength. We feel like he's got a lot of ability, and he's at the beginning of his football journey. And we felt like, there's a product in there that if we can continue to tap into that development, that there's just a really talented player there. And then, the kickoff aspect of the job was really important. We feel like he's got a really special kickoff leg. It felt like directionally, hang time, he can create an advantage for us in the field position game. And then so much about field goals is just getting that experience, and the only way you get the experience is to go out there and do it. And so we wanted to invest in that, and felt like, he really performed well and competed the way we wanted him to.
Tyron Johnson, you got waive. What went into that decision for you?
It was a tough one, a really tough one. T-Billy has done a lot for this team in the past, and he did some good things for us in camp. And that was, one of the tougher conversations that I had today. And I think we have a really deep receiver room. There's a lot of competition, and I think that it's just one of those things where it's more numbers, not so much how we feel about him as a player, because I got a lot of respect for his game. But it's just where we're at from a number standpoint, and then the kicking game being a big aspect of those, back end receiver roles. Just felt like going in this direction would be the right direction for us right now.
And then just with Trey Pipkins, I think a lot of fans have watched the last two preseason games and seen him struggle a bit and have some reps that he wants back. Just from your perspective, why is he on this roster?
Yeah, I think with Trey, there's still aspects of his game that certainly need improvement. But we felt like he's been invested in trying to improve, and what we're trying to do is solidify him in a comfort zone. He's been kind of going left and right and left, and we just felt like for now that he's a player that we can still hang with. And we feel like he's earned that with us, with how he's invested in his game. And although he's had some tough moments that I think a lot of people have seen, there's been other moments where we feel like, hey, there's still more in there that we can tap into. So we're just going to hang tough with him, and he certainly has to improve. But we feel like he gives us, depth at that position that we feel like we'll need moving forward.
Hey, Coach, with this extra time before week 1, do you plan on using this time to kind of tinker with the roster, maybe bolster up the offensive line a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're just at the beginning of this whole process. There's so much time between now and our first game, and there's a lot of ways to manipulate and shape your roster, and we plan on fully exploring all those avenues. And that's what's great about the NFL is there's a lot of ways that you can acquire players between now and the first game. And so we're going to be doing that as soon as we get off this practice field, is going back up there and taking a look at the league and what's happened, and where we can truly, put 53 guys out there that we feel like, are going to give us the best chance in that first week.
Brandon, you guys kept 3 quarterbacks, but have there been discussions about bringing in maybe a 4th one for the practice squad and then maybe leaving them isolated just in case if the other 3 were to contract COVID, you have a backup plan?
We haven't explored that specific plan. We did want to have 3 for that reason. So that you could have an extra guy, depending on, some close contact trace and stuff like that. Fortunately, all 3 of our guys are vaccinated, so that won't be as big of a deal. But we have not explored that specific scenario, no.
Or I mean, like, just in general, maybe keeping Houston isolated from the other guys just in case? Or?
We haven't, the way we've set up our meeting rooms in there is that 6 feet of social distancing, and team meetings, we kind of keep it spaced out too. So we're trying to follow that the best we can, because I think as we're all discovering, I mean, it's happening around the league, even to guys who are vaccinated. And so I think that we're all kind of learning as we go. We all received new protocols this week that we're adhering to. So, but I think in that quarterback room, I feel good about kind of how we've set it up so that we kind of prevent what you're talking about.
Does that affect at all players who are vaccinated or not vaccinated when you put that down?
No, it didn't make any difference for us. I know that a lot's made of that topic around the league, and I think rightfully so. But for us, our players have been awesome in terms of our overall compliance and our vaccination rates, as you guys know, have skyrocketed since the summertime. So we're just going to do the best we can to continue to follow the rules and stay current with the rules and organize our setup every day so that we all can stay safe.
You guys went with 10 DBs. Was it just Kemon Hall's special teams ability that really earned him that spot, or was there more to that?
That was a big factor in it. I think those back-end DB jobs, special teams play such a critical component in it, and then certainly their versatility as, actual defensive backs. So that versatility in the defensive backfield and, being able to contribute in a meaningful way in the core 4 certainly is a big component in those back-end DB spots.
You got a few players that have a story behind them where they showed intestinal fortitude and perseverance. Why is that important to you to have on the team guys like that?
Well, I think so much about so much about today is, it's such a journey for a lot of these guys. And I think behind some of those stories is just there's a lot of work. There's a lot of hard times, tough times, low times, and then there's a lot of good times too. And I think it's your ability to manage that and come out on the other side of it. You truly got to be able to stand the test of time when you go from 90 to 53. That's what's awesome about the NFL is how competitive it is. And you start at camp in one place and then you end up in another place, and then that it's not over yet. Like today is not the end, it's a beginning, So I think that we have a lot of guys in that undrafted realm who have certainly fit that description. Guys like an Austin Eckler, like we've talked about, Vato, Matt Filer, Chris Harris, guys that have kind of made a name for themselves in pro football. And then we have some guys that are at the beginning of that journey of being I can't forget Chase. Chase was undrafted. But then there's guys that are kind of in the beginning of that. And I think, guys like Amen, guys like Forrest, and I think that what that tells you about the NFL is that, if you're good enough, we'll find you. And I think that just because we find you doesn't mean that, this is an end game for you. You still got to get better as a player to make sure you stay here. So I'm excited about the group that we're working with, and, going to continue to develop those guys. Yeah, just the receiver room, as we talked about during camp, was just super competitive. And then I think what ended up happening for him too was just from a return standpoint. He didn't get a chance those last 2 weeks to really express himself because he got hurt. And where we were at with receiver and where we are at returner, just didn't feel like that was going to be the direction for us. But it's not over for him. He's a good player. He's still got his career out in front of him, and hopefully we can get him healthy here and see where it goes.
Cortez Broughton looked like he had a pretty good camp and was making plays.
Yeah, Daniel, I think you made a good point because Tez, that was another tougher conversation too, because I felt like he performed, felt like he did some nice things for us, battled through some injury stuff, came back, and I think where we were at from a depth standpoint and what we needed inside, we needed a bigger interior guy, just a little bit stronger player that could play more in the middle, in the run front, and I think that's what it came down to. But I was really pleased with his camp, and it was a tough conversation.
Brandon, since we've asked you since before even mini camp, but what did you guys like about Amen and kind of the way he plays?
This guy's instinctive. He can see. He can really see the game. And I think if you said what stands out, like that stands out. Like when something's happening, this guy's on top of it, and he's a commander. To be a rookie and for him to have the aptitude within our scheme already, I think just shows you how his brain works. And then he's got size. This guy's big. He can run for his size. He's long arms. And so we just feel like there's a product to work with there, not only as a linebacker but on special teams, that he can be a big factor, in those interior core jobs and special teams. And he's the right guy to be coaching, from a developmental standpoint.
A little surprising that he went undrafted?
After being with him, yeah, for sure, because he played at a good program, Oklahoma State. But I think that you guys all saw him during camp. Like, he was out there with the ones at times, when we had some guys out there, and he looks like he belongs out there. I think him and Nick Neiman showed those guys can play pro football. And that's what's awesome about the preseason is when you get opportunities like that, those guys really took advantage of them. And, again, we're just at the beginning with those guys.
How close is Ryan Smith? We saw him out.
Yeah. I feel like, he's out there, which is a real positive for us. I know he's feeling better. You can normally tell with players if they're smiling a little bit more that they're feeling a little bit better. So his mood's better. I feel like he's getting closer. And we're just going to, keeping it day to day, but like that it wasn't day to day like a week ago. So I think, that's a good sign that he's improving and, closer to being out there full speed.
Is he still dealing with that core muscle?
Yes. Yes, that's, he's past, the COVID, stuff, and then it's really just, getting over the core stuff, and he's progressing well, though.
Is it possible you would IR him in the season?
It's a possibility, yeah.
And then is there any guy on this roster who went from totally off the radar in July to getting a spot on the 53?
Totally off the radar. I don't think so. Totally off the radar.
We're off the radar.
Yeah,
For a couple weeks of practice,
for sure.
just-
I think Storm Norton's come a long way from being a guy that was in the XFL like 5 seconds ago and now is like a factor as an NFL tackle. I think that his story's a good one, where he's come as a player. His story's a favorite of mine, just how much he's improved and what he's added to our football team. I think that's a guy that I think, certainly has carved out a nice role for himself on our football team. I think Gabe Neighbors is another. I didn't know what type of fullback we were going to have with him, the way we want to play. And I didn't know that we were going to get the type of special teams player that we've gotten from him. He's a four-core guy, and he's kind of a general for us on teams. Those are two guys that stand out to me as being, when you say off the radar, maybe in terms of being such a big factor on our team, and so I'm really proud of those guys. Those would be two.
Is Storm the swing tackle?
Yeah, he would be the first to go in the game. Yes.
Brandon, Corey and Bulaga working on the side today. Any update on those guys?
Yeah, just day to day. This was kind of more of a flowing and going practice where we just wanted to get those guys some good work, and tomorrow we're going to put the pads on. But just they're in good spirits. We're just going to make sure that, like I said, we're taking advantage of these guys that played a lot of football, and we want to make sure that at that first game they're feeling good, and that's a big motive behind making sure they're right.
How much of this week is honing just stuff from training camp in the preseason before you install Washington?
Yeah, I love that. It's such an important time for us because this isn't traditional in the NFL. Normally you're into game week, right? So the fact that you get another week, we're really going to focus on the Chargers this week, focus on technique, fundamentals, being able to shape our scheme a little bit more. We're able to get some guys back out there on the field, being able to, kind of experiment with a couple things that we had on our mind from a scheme standpoint. and really make it about the Chargers. That's what I kind of told the team this morning in our meeting was we're really going to focus on the Chargers this week. And then we get that bonus Monday for Washington, and then you're into game week. You know, there'll be some things that maybe we start from a walkthrough standpoint this week, but the live work this week will be Chargers on Chargers, getting that pace of the game.
Is there anyone else that you guys could potentially place on IR outside of Ryan Smith?
Not off the top of my head, but don't hold me to that. Like I said, there could be a lot that happens in the next 48 hours or so once I get out of here and see what the rest of the league's been doing since we've been out of practice. There's still a lot to unpack, and we're certainly going to try and scan every avenue to make our team the best we can.
I'll throw some into that. Mark Webb, he wasn't practicing today.
Yeah, just coming off the game at Seattle, he played a lot in the game. We're just making sure that he's right, but he's good to go. He'll be good to go. Just wanted to give him another day coming off the game.
Hey, Coach,
Last one, guys.
Coach, will you touch on the experience and the wisdom that Jared Cook brings to the offense? And
Yeah.
How that's helped out Justin Herbert to this point, and then how you see that moving forward?
Yeah, Jared's such a good resource. This guy's got a lot of experiences, not just like years in the league, but he's played with a lot of good quarterbacks. When you think about Breeze and Rodgers, and just this guy's had a lot of rich experience. And so I think that playing within a lot, a system that, this system that we have, playing for Frank Smith, he kind of knows how we want to operate, and then he knows how to talk to the quarterback. He knows how to, talk to his fellow tight ends and set that example. And so I just think that you see him out on that football field. It looks like he's running as good as he ever has. And I'm thankful that we have him because he's just such a consistent person, and he's a consistent performer out there. Every time he goes out there on the practice field, didn't matter if we were in San Francisco practices, good on good here, this guy shows up and he's still producing at a high level. So I'm really thankful we have him.